Hey, it's Chris with Tactical Defense Institute. Tonight's video, I'm going to talk about belt systems, or at least my belt system. Again, it's one of the questions I've fielded from students as they prep for our TAC rifle class and even some of our handgun classes, if they plan on running everything from quote-unquote a battle belt, a duty belt, whatever you want to call it, not necessarily a law enforcement duty belt, but duty belt nonetheless. So I've tried a couple different styles of belts over the years. I can't even remember what my first one was. I think it was an old Uncle Mike's duty belt with an Eagle Industries pad, just belt pad, no molly on it, right? It worked, right? I needed my first belt, it wasn't too bad. And as I progressed, I went to a T-Rex Arms Orion belt. I was thinking, you know what? I want something that I can throw over top of anything I'm wearing quickly and, pretty good quality. Ran that belt for about 2 years, a year and a half, 2 years, and never really fell in love with it. I found that, especially teaching, 8 and 10 hours on the range all day, between throwing staplers or water bottle in my dump pouch, or mags on the belt and the gun, no matter how much I tried to tighten it, it would still want to sag, right? And I still wear a belt with my pants, so when I put it over top, it wasn't always super comfortable over that normal belt, and even with the grippy material on the inside, it still wanted to sag. So I was looking for something different. And I shot competition, USPSA competition for years, and ran, I think over the years I've had double alpha belts as well as CR speed belts. And they are all set up as a inner outer belt, right? You have your inner Velcro and your outer Velcro, so you don't have to take your holster and everything off the belt at matches when you put it on. And it always held secure. So I decided to go back to an inner belt, outer belt system. So I ended up buying my original one used on Tac Swap, a Blue Alpha Gear belt. And recently it was a little on the smaller side. It was a medium. I probably needed an extra inch or two, and it worked. I think I ran it for like 3 years, and finally I broke down and said I need to get one that's a little bit bigger, the right size. I'm just going to get a new one. It didn't hurt that I had a buddy of mine that was looking for a new belt, and it was the perfect size for him. So he bought my old one, and I just bought a new one from Blue Alpha Gear. Right. So how's it set up? Your typical inner, soft Velcro. Belt that routes through the pants. This one's a little different. Their original belts, the older style, just overlapped and Velcroed and didn't have the double back pass through. So this you can wear as a standalone if you wanted to, right? Just pull it back, tighten it up till your heart's content, right? Typical inner belt. I know there's a lot of different styles. And the outer belt, right? So how do I have this set up? That's more about what this is versus anything. I run my belt when I'm running like a micro rig, chest, rig with super profile, like a Haley Strategic or, any version of those smaller low profile rigs, or when I'm running my plate carrier, right? My fully loaded plate carrier. And I don't run a million things on the belt because one, it's going to slow you down a little bit if you run and you have 8 mags or, you're double stacking 4 mags, 2 and 2 rifle mags on your belt. Does not make mobility, real comfortable, and it slows you down potentially a little bit. So I run my primary reload for both my pistols and my rifle off of my belt, right? With that in mind, I only go with a single pistol mag pouch and a single rifle mag pouch. So as I start from front here, right, typical your Cobra buckle, what does it look like as I run my belt here? First thing is pair of gloves, right? I forget what these are called, Grimlocks, something I stole off of some Army issue gear I had back in the day, right? Just a little push button plastic clip I can route through and hook a pair of gloves on it. Works really, really well. It's pretty simple, right? After that, I have essentially a janitor's keychain is what this looks like, right? But it's got a combination of, I might tilt my camera down here just a tad, make sure you guys get a little bit better view of stuff. Right, it's got a combination of a couple little mini chem lights as well as some electrical tape, just a loop of 550 cord for electrical tape that are hooked onto it. I can remove this if I need something that doesn't jiggle. If I got to do a jump shake test for anything that I need to be ultra quiet, this is very easily removed. just slide it off. I can throw it in a rucksack, throw it in an assault pack, you know, a pocket, tape them together with the electrical tape if I want it to not jiggle or move. You know, the chem lights, when I do work as a medic for the SWAT team, all right, it's an easy way to mark cleared rooms or certain areas, you know, say you got a casualty inside. If I need to mark something inside of a dark structure, if you're not running night vision, very low profile way that I can snap, drop it in, and, you know, drop it at a doorway and mark a room. What I use more than anything, honestly, is probably just the electrical tape. I've done everything from tape over the trigger pins on an AR-15 because they wanted to keep walking out for a student in a class, to taping 550 cord to the front end of a rifle as a makeshift attachment point for a sling because I had a student sling break in a class, to using it as a bandage for a, you know, a staple, you know, gets into a hand, you're stapling targets, or you slice on a piece of spall that's in some wood. You can throw a Band-Aid. I need a little extra pressure, you know, electrical tape. I've used it for all sorts of stuff. It's always a handy thing to have around. As I work back from that, I went with the Spiritus Systems Justa pouch. My boy Neil turned me onto this pouch, and I gotta say, it's awesome. So the pouch itself has a cavity compartment insert opening that you can put different inserts in, and different companies make them for magazines. You can do more than one pistol, you can do a rifle, you can do a 308 versus a 5.56. And I opted for the hard carbon fiber insert from Wiseman Tactical. I had to think of the company I ordered it from. No, the Wiseman Company, not Wiseman Tactical, Wiseman Company. I've seen guys that run this with a soft insert, and I give you kind of a little view here, if you can, to see kind of how it's got that little carbon fiber, you know, insert down here, and even when you pull the mags out, it retains its shape in here for pretty much any double stack mag. Seen guys that have soft Velcro inserts and they want to collapse every time you pull the mag out. And I was like, nope, don't want that. I want something that retains its shape. So that insert from Wiseman Company worked out really, really well. I went with the single pistol and single 5.56 rifle mag. Because like I said, my primary reload for both pistol and rifle are always coming off my belt before I go to a plate carrier or a chest rig. But you can get away with that with just any, you know, pistol mag pouches, right? The nice thing about this pouch is its versatility. It comes with the flap that is originally just Velcro, top Velcros to the bottom, and it does not have this shock cord on it, right? This setup is from Tracer Tactical. It's, I think, called their Viper setup. It essentially puts all these little different slots in here, as well as the shock cord, to make this pouch a silent open and close. As opposed to ripping Velcro every time you want to get into this pouch and out. The little, you know, hence the Viper, the two little teeth here, you just hook it under one of those slots, right? Boom, and it locks it closed. Really simple. All you gotta do is pull down and up, and it pops it open. No, you know, virtually no noise. You're not ripping Velcro when you need to get in here to get something. It's really, really nice. From the administrative side, especially when I'm teaching, you know, I'm throwing a pen, a Sharpie, Write in the Rain notebook, whatever it might be. I can throw my cell phone in there. You can loosen up the shot cord for a shotgun class. I mean, this thing actually gets pretty decent size if I put my hand in there, and you can kind of see how it stretches out pretty decent. Shotgun shells, if you're doing a shotgun class, to the point where it'll actually fit a smoke. If you got, you know, smoke grenades that you need for an operation, you know, just a handy kind of multi-purpose pouch that you can throw in here. You can throw extra pistol mags and extra, you know, 20-round rifle mag. You can put a full-size mag in, you just won't be able to close the flap on it, but if you need a place to stow it. So it's a nice multi-purpose general pouch that you can use for a lot of different stuff. Shot timers if you're out on the range. So that is positioned right where, you know, my left side right on the hip bone where my mag pouches would be. As I work my way around, this is just a high-speed gear taco that runs my Mod Light handheld. It's a PLH V2 head. A nice all-around handheld light with a shot cord through the base that I can, you know, if I'm doing one-handed work, I can manipulate my gun, do what I need to with a way to retain my light when I am not holding on to it. So I can do reloads, clear malfunctions, all that good stuff. All right, I just loop it around and boom, it holds right there and fits right inside that taco pouch, which stretches and holds it secure. Dump pouch, right? I like having a dump pouch, not only for, your spare mags, depending on what you're doing. If you're not running an operation in the middle of nowhere where you are having to pick up mags for some reason, it's great for partial mags. Honestly, when I'm teaching a lot of times or doing whatever, it's the random odds and ends, a staple gun, a bottle of water. When I'm training, it's like, but if you have a dump pouch, right, they are used for a variety of things, and they're just a handy piece to have in there. Working around from that is my belt medical gear, right? So there's a lot of different styles. This one was from Gadsden Dynamics, who regrettably had to close their doors last year, and are no longer in business. They were good people up there that made some nice low profile gear. Excuse me. But it is a pull-out medical pouch, right, that I can pull out either side on my two handles right here that are red with the plastic over top, that have gauze in there. I got chest seals in there, some packing material, and then it has a tourniquet, just an elastic tourniquet loop on the bottom. I run soft T wide, whether you want to put a Gen 7 cat in there, whatever type of tourniquet you love and like, as long as you got training on it. And through the slots in the back, I will run a trauma shears. This is just a North American Rescue, one of their smaller version of the trauma shears. That comes in really, really handy for a lot of stuff. Kind of tucks in nice and small, so really about all you're getting is the handle sticking up, and it's the small version, doesn't protrude, doesn't poke into my back, doesn't poke me in the kidneys. You don't even realize it's there. So that's kind of a nice place to put it in there if you need to do a little cut on something, whatever it is. And as you work your way around, right, in my opinion, the gold standard of duty rig holsters is the Safariland. Don't ask me what model this is. I don't know. It's 6378 RDS. There you go. Safariland model numbers are chaos with all of them. But essentially it's for my Glock 19 with a Streamlight TLR1 HL. I believe the same holster also fits the X300. Optics cut compatible holster. Obviously it's got the little shield. I got a thumb mod, the nub mod on the ALS lever. And I run it on a mid-ride UBL with a QLS system, right? So if I want to run a different gun in a different holster, a Prodigy or an M&P or whatever it might be, or I want to throw this holster onto, whatever system I'm running, onto just a normal pants belt for something simple, I can easily do that, right? QLS systems are nice, so I'm a big fan there. I do like running a thigh strap, right? Minimize movement of the holster and the gun if I'm sprinting, if I'm moving hard. And I don't like running thigh rigs. I like having the gun staying in position based off on my waist, not turning based on the position of my lower leg. Especially you get into vehicles and do any vehicle work, thigh rigs can be a disaster to try to draw from, is where when the gun is working with the belt in the waist that direction, makes it much easier once you navigate with seat belts, and obviously there's techniques to that, but to draw that gun and get it into the fight inside of a vehicle. So I keep the rest of my right side pretty slick because I don't want anything to impede with my draw. Same with my vest, my plate carrier, I keep that right side pretty slick so to avoid any interference. The only thing that a lot of guys will run, a lot of times that I don't run on my belt, is I don't run a knife. Maybe I could tuck one, back into one of these cavities where my trauma shears is, or, in between my belt and the medic pouch, I could do a knife. And maybe someday I will. I have a pocket knife on me 24/7, and I carry one on my vest as well. That's an easily accessible knife if I had to do a weapon retention, using a knife if need be. So I don't know, maybe I'll add one, but I haven't put one on there yet. So I have, like I said, run Blue Alpha gear. This belt is one size smaller for probably three years, maybe longer. Time flies anymore. And I have been thrilled to death with it. It's got some adjustability, on the belt itself. All the stitching has held up great. Actually, every piece of equipment on this belt, from the holster to the Justa pouch to the Tactical Tailor dump pouch, right, has all been phenomenal. So again, like a rifle setup in a lot of ways, your belt setup is kind of mission dependent on what you do, right? Are you a SWAT team operator, right? Or are you just a dude that's prepping for the worst case scenario when the world falls apart? How much do you want to run on your belt versus your plate carrier? right? I like to keep my belt somewhat minimal-ish because, you know, it, like I mentioned earlier, it just weighs you down, makes mobility a little more difficult. I tend to keep the front of my belt pretty open and clean, right? No, I don't do a lot of shooting from the prone, right? It's not the IMTs in the military where you're slamming the buttstock into the ground, drop into the prone. A lot of CQB work I do, you're standing, but occasionally you're shooting in prone. But I just don't like having stuff right here in the front on my duty belt, even though I appendix carry pretty much all the time in civilian clothes. When it comes to the battle belt, the duty belt thing, I don't like having a lot of mag pouches and everything else up in front. Just not my style. Nothing wrong with it if you like it, but not my style. I find when you get into kneeling positions and anything where you got to kind of bend down, especially you get into tight compressed positions, some unconventional positions, it can be problematic to have a lot of stuff sitting on the front of your belt. So that is a little bit about my belt setup. Maybe that sheds a little light on some things for you to consider if you want to set your belt up. I will say I do have an over belt. I looked for it, couldn't find it. I have one of the Gadsden Dynamics super low profile belts. While they're not my preference, they are nice if you need something very rapid to throw on. I usually keep it in the bag I take when I travel and the family and I go on vacation, right? It's got elastic built-in mag pouches. It's all MOLLE all the way around, which really just runs a holster, and that one does have a knife on it since it doesn't have a trauma shears on it, right? I can just, boom, throw it over anything I might happen to be wearing, whether that's sweatpants or whatever. So that is a nice option to have, but it's not my primary style for belts that I use. So if you guys got questions about how my belt's set up, why my belt is set up the way it is, right? Different products or gear that I have tried out that maybe you can save some money by not having to go buy, right? And realize that it doesn't work for you, even though, we all have our own personal preferences on how things are set up. So maybe what I don't like, you might love. But hit me up in the comments. Let me know if you got questions, right? Hit that subscribe button, right? That way when I get some more content put out, you guys can be notified of it. And, look forward to sharing what I've learned over the years between the military, contracting, and teaching and classes and training and everything else that I've done, and sharing a little bit of that with you guys. So again, this is Chris with Tactical Defense Institute. We're starting a new year, January of 2026. We got a lot of fun stuff lined up that we'd love to see you down in West Union, Ohio in one of our classes. If you got questions about it, hit up the website, TDI Ohio, right? Hit that subscribe button and get out there and train, right? None of the gear that you buy, no matter how cool or Gucci it is, from your gun to the nicest, fanciest belt, does you any good if you don't put the time, money, and investment into the training, right? Go train with professionals that know what they're talking about, and it will pay dividends if you ever have to use all that equipment that you buy. Thanks a lot. Stay safe, everybody, and we'll see you on the range sometime.